Hello, everybody. This is part 2 of my bookshelf tour. This is my second shelf. We talked about this shelf in the first video, so feel free to go back and check that out. This video will hopefully be shorter, but this is my secondary bookshelf. I built this myself actually in high school. I made sure that the shelves were the exact height that I wanted them to be and all that good stuff. So yeah, let's get started. So up here at the top, we have my copies of my books, which aren't to be confused with these, which are like the finished copies. These are mostly my proof copies. So you have the original proof of Silent Night in the gloss cover, and then the second proof of Silent Night in the matte. I did ultimately end up going with the matte because most people wanted the matte. And then for Sacred Ruse, I have, again, gloss and matte proof copies because I really like the look of the gloss myself, so I wanted them to have matching copies. And again, I have the gloss proof of book 3. I didn't end up getting a matte proof of book 3 because at that point I knew that it would be fine, and I just wanted the gloss for my own matchingness. And then I have the proof of Assassins Below. As you can see, this one is considerably smaller than this one. So I got this one and I was like, man, this book is like too tiny. So I went and I did some formatting magic and made it a little bit bigger so that it wouldn't be quite so small. And then you have my original proof copy of Summer's Revenge. I only got this one in gloss because it was a fantasy book. I felt like gloss was better. And then I have my original author copy of Silent Night. Actually, no, sorry, these aren't originals. These originals have the Gill Trilogy and no logo at the bottom. So these are when I republished the second edition of the trilogy with my own publishing company, Elgin House Press. And then you have my original author copy of Assassins Below, my original author copy of Summer's Revenge, and my original author copy of Winter's Wrath. This actually might be my proof copy because I didn't order it off of Amazon, so it doesn't have the not for resale on it. I ordered it off of Ingram so that I could see what the full cover looked like. And then I have my sprayed / stenciled editions of Summer's Revenge done by Custom Sprayed Edges. These are the only two I have left. I have yet to decide what I'm doing with them, but for right now they make a really nice display. So that's the top shelf there. On my secondary shelf, so this bookshelf is mostly old favorites, dystopian, and then I have indie. It's just like kind of a little bit everything, and it is not in alphabetical order by author last name. It's kind of in random order. I'm not really sure what I'm doing with the shelf, but first and foremost, I have my Twilight paperbacks, one with the movie cover because why not? As you can see, these are pretty worn. I read them each at least 6 times, could be 7. I lost track. Obviously, at this point in my life, I don't believe that they're the height of literature, but they're such an integral part of my life growing up, in my reading life, so here they are. I'll probably read them again before I die. Next, I have the Grisha trilogy by Leigh Bardugo. I enjoyed this trilogy well enough, but I kind of, like, book 1 was so much better than books 2 and 3, and I hate who Alina ended up with in book 3, so I probably won't keep these long term, but for now, they're there. Then I have Dueled and Divided by Elsie Chapman. This is a really neat dystopian duology where every person is born twice, and you have to kill your other half before your 16th birthday, or I believe the government will do it for you. Basically, only one of you is allowed to live into adulthood, and so it creates this really interesting society where the rich spend their lives training to be able to take down their other half easily, and the poor are basically left up to luck, and yeah, so it's really good. I really enjoyed it. And then I have In the After and In the End by Demetria Lunetta. This is like alien invasion / zombie apocalypse survival dystopian thing. It's really good. Really enjoyed it. Only 2 books. And then I have The Dark Inside and Rage Within by Jane Roberts. This is zombie apocalypse at its finest. I just recently actually read the 3rd and final book in the series. I borrowed it from a friend. But it's told from 4 different points of view. You will probably hate 1 or 2 of them, but they're all essential to the story. And it follows these 4 teenagers after the initial hit of the apocalypse and how they're surviving and how they're unraveling what is happening and why, and gathering their found family and rebelling against the darkness. And it's got some romance elements. It's quite brutal at times. There's a lot of character deaths. You will cry, but it's really good at the same time. Next up, I have the Darkest Minds trilogy by Alexandra Bracken. Really, really good dystopian. Again, basically, there's this virus that breaks out, and most children under the ages of 10 die, I believe. But then everybody, the ones that don't die, basically get these weird powers, and the powers that be, the government and the adults, are like super scared of this, and so they basically send these kids to concentration camps to keep an eye on them and keep them from being a danger to the world. And they're divided into 5 categories. You have your greens, which are just like super smart, your blues that I believe can control like telekinesis and things like that. Then you have your yellows, which can control electricity, your oranges, which can control minds, and your reds, which can control fire. And basically, a few years into this, everybody start like getting rid of the reds and the oranges because they've become too much of a problem. And the story follows Ruby, who is an orange masquerading as a green, and what happens when they find out her secret and she has to run. It is so good. I can't even describe to you how good it is. There's romance, there's found family, there's survival, there's political intrigue. You have to read it. And then next I have Proxy and Guardian. I got these at a library sale and I was so happy because I read these originally at the library and I wasn't expecting much from these. I will be honest with you, but boy did they deliver in an unexpected way. Basically, this is a post-apocalyptic / dystopian future where the super rich can have these proxies, which are people that basically, if the rich person steals a car, they don't go to jail, their proxy goes to jail for them. And there's a lot more to it than that, but basically it follows this guy, this rich person, and his proxy, and how when the rich guy goes a little bit too far, things get really bad for both of them, and they end up running together to try to, I can't remember exactly, but they end up having to work together to save themselves and the day, and it's super good. It's gut-wrenching at times, it's pretty sad, but it's also really good. And then in the corner here, I have The Demon King and The Exiled Queen by, what's his name? Cinda William Shima. I believe it's a woman, actually. My bad. And this is a really good epic fantasy, of which I've only actually read book 1, but I do really think I need to get to the rest of the series. Yeah, it's epic fantasy, it's royalty, it's medieval intrigue, it's demons, it's war, it's magic, it's all sorts of things all together. And then at the very end here is The Call by Peter O'Gillen, and this is a fantasy horror Irish folklore fairy thing. And I do believe there's actually a sequel, but basically it's set in Ireland where every child between the ages of, I believe, 10 and 16 will be taken into the fairy realm where they have to then survive for 24 hours and then they'll be spit back out. And basically it follows the main character and her friends who will go to this academy to train how to survive in the fairy world where when they're inevitably taken. But also, like, the other catch is, like, it's 24 hours in the fairy world, but you're only actually gone for 2 minutes in the real world. So people will just disappear, and then their dead body will be back in 2 minutes, where they actually spent the past, like, 24 hours trying to survive. And the main character has a chronic illness where her, basically, she's not paralyzed, but she has a really hard time walking. I can't quite remember exactly, but she uses crutches. And so everybody thinks that when she gets called, she's going to die because she won't be able to run very well and whatnot. And it's her story of, like, breaking that stereotype and doing her best to survive. It gets really creepy, but it's also really good. And then this entire shelf is my indie author collection. At the end here, this actually is in alphabetical order, this shelf. So my end here, you have The Lost Prince of Cadira by Stephanie Ann. This is portal fantasy, fae, blood witches, wizards, necromancy, all kinds of cool things. Basically, the main character is outcast to the human world as a child and then is called back by the king to find his lost son in exchange for her to be able to come back. There's also The Last Oracle of Lazaroth, which is a novella, and then book 2, The Forgotten Dagger of Azula, and these covers are just absolutely stunning. I haven't read the novella in book 2 yet, but I plan to. It was really good. Then I have a couple things of poetry here. The Corner of the Room and One Wing Without Wind, both by Mitchell J. Burke. They were really good. He has just such evocative imagery and a way with words and metaphors that I haven't really seen elsewhere. And then you have The Secrets of the Forest by Helena Brady. This is a short fantasy horror / paranormal tale with ghosts and monsters and Irish folklore. Then there's The Weeper and Other Stories by J.M. Ivey and Grace Rory. This has 3 fairy tale retellings in it. One is Cinderella, I believe. The other is The Little Mermaid and Rapunzel, but they also kind of blend more than one facet to it. So it was really good, really cool. I liked what they did with the tales that they told. Then I have A Land of Never After by R.L. Davenor. This is a Peter Pan retelling where Wendy is Hook's daughter, well, Hook and the Little Mermaid's daughter, and Peter Pan is trans. It was really good. It was a bit shorter than I wanted, but the author has since expanded the series, so book 2 and beyond are a lot bigger and more fleshed out, and I'm excited to get to them eventually. Then there's The Quiet Limit by Trista Lundquist. It's the first in a dystopian trilogy, which she will be finishing next year, I believe. I haven't read it yet, but I bought it when it was on sale and has the gold foiling. I should also say that this will be 4 books, I believe. It's unfinished. This is a standalone, and A Land of Never After is the first 2 books, and like 2 or 3 novellas are out now, and book 3 is coming next year probably. I'm not sure how many are in it, but the series is unfinished. This one will be finished next year. Next up, I have Kingdom of Sirens and Monsters by Tara Quinn. She has since changed her publishing name to Pagan Alexandria. This is the first of 2 books in a dual Snow White and the Little Mermaid retelling. Urban fantasy, underwater fantasy. It is really good. I really like what she did with the 2 fairy tales and how she blended the elements together in the subtle, yet, like, after the fact, you're like, oh my god, I see why, like, you find the connections afterward, which is really cool. And it also has pretty solid romance. It does get a little spicy near the end, so fair warning, but overall it's really good. And then I have one of my, one of two, I suppose. My top 2 favorite indie read of all time, Rise of the Sky Pirate, The Adventures of Captain Keenan by S.W. Rain. This is steampunk pirate fantasy at its finest. I've actually never read any other steampunk pirate fantasy, but I assure you it is the best. You have morally gray characters, you have a romance, you have people getting into these impossible situations and somehow getting their way out of them, found family, saving the world. It's got all of it, and you should read it now. It's technically a prequel to the Technomage, but I read this one first and was not confused, so do with that what you will. Then I have A Dance with Shadows by Lisa Reals. This was a really cool one where a girl is a dream weaver and she gets recruited by the King of Nightmares to take down the Queen of Dreams. She has to train and participate in this trial, and if she survives, then she gets to be his new Dreamweaver. I'm a little hazy on the details, but there's some romantic subplots, and the author has not been active on socials, so I don't know what's happening, but I would really like a book 2. But yeah, as of right now, I don't know, but it is really good. Then I have my extensive collection of Jenny Sauer books. This is the Everaft Galaxy series and the spin-off Thugs and Kisses series. These are all fairy tale retellings set in her fictional Everaft Galaxy. So there's soft sci-fi elements, and it's really good. So bear with me here. Book 1 is Rook-de-Goo, and it is a Cinderella retelling set in space. Okay? Cinderella does not run away from the ball. She runs away from the army and joins a ragtag crew aboard the Aderin, and then they kind of get into a plot to save the galaxy accidentally. There is a new cover for this one, so you won't see this cover now, but you definitely should read this. The direct sequel to Rook-de-Goo is Kling Klang Gloria, with its stunning illustrated cover. This one is a King Thrushbeard and Maid Maylene retelling, and it follows a new set of characters, but these characters show up later in the book, so it's not like a direct sequel, if you know what I mean. And then Wait Until Tomorrow is a Rapunzel and Steadfast Tin Soldier retelling. It's very short. It's a novella. It's not directly tied into the rest of the books, but it takes place in the same world, I believe in the same timeline. Yeah. Yesterday or Long Ago is a companion novel, which is a gender-bent Aladdin. Now, this one probably should be read after Rook-de-Goo because there's some characters that have a bit of overlap. And like this one technically takes place after the events of Rook-de-Goo. So, yeah. And then A Little Beside You is book 1 in the Thugs and Kisses companion series, which is soft mafia romances set in the Everaft Galaxy. This one is Snow White and Rose Red retelling, and it is my other favorite independent novel of all time. You can see because I own the original cover and I own the new cover. And it probably should be read after Yesterday or Long Ago because, again, character overlap. But you can start here if you want. Like I don't make the rules. But then you have book 2 in that series, Unwritten in the Stars, which of course should be read after A Little Beside You because it is like a direct sequel, even though it follows a new couple. And then in the middle here you have The Witch at the Edge of the Woods, which is a novella set in the same universe following a different character. I don't know if it has a direct fairy tale. It's kind of like a prequel to a fairy tale she will be retelling later at some point, I believe. So it could really be read at any time, though it does reference some characters from Rook-de-Goo, but not in like a spoilery way. And then Fluff with a Side of Treason is a collection of like short pieces, some that are canon and some that are not, following the characters and events of the whole series. And if you haven't read any of it yet, you definitely should. And I recommend, again, starting with Rook de Goo. Next up, I don't believe that these are independently published anymore. I could be wrong. I'm a little bit hazy on exactly what Helen Shore is in terms of trad versus indie. But this is the Queen... What is she calling it? The Siren Queen Chronicles. It's a completed quartet. There's 4 books. That's it. There are no more. Okay, so I apologize for the time skip in this video. I got caught up and had to start over. But I believe we were at this series here. So this is A Lair of Bones with Dagger and Song, The Fabric of Chaos, and To Wield a Crown. This is a complete quartet, YA epic fantasy that takes place in a siren lair. You follow Rohija of the Bone Cleaners, who is a young siren whose mother committed an unspeakable crime and was sentenced to a millennium in prison. And Rohija, as a result, is kind of an outcast by society. But the Queen's Tournament has come along where eligible young sirens can compete to become the next monarch of the Siren Society, and Ro joins up hoping to create a name for herself. And as you can see, 4 books, it's not as easy as our girl thinks it is, but this is one of the best series that I have ever read. It's very cohesive. It's just the world building and the characters and the relationships and all of it. The plot, it just keeps you guessing, it keeps you on your toes, and book 4 emotionally devastated me, so you definitely need to read this series. Up next is Butterflies That Never Die and Beasts That Never Slumber. This is book 1 and 2 in the Legend of the Heirs trilogy by Aldera Thomas. She is a fellow indie author, and I love her books to death. The next book in the series will be Flames That Never Fade, and I am terrified for what she's going to do in that book. Next up, we have Dark Inside by Kenneth Opel. This is, believe it or not, a YA Frankenstein retelling. So if you're in your Frankenstein era, definitely get in on this. I actually recently got this signed by the author, and it's so cool because I read this back in like 8th grade and finally got it signed. But I definitely recommend that one. I hated Frankenstein, but I liked this book a lot. Then we have Shiver, Linger, and Forever by Maggie Stiefvater. These are paranormal romance, werewolf, wolf shifter type thing. It's kind of in like the same vein as like Twilight, but werewolves, no vampires. I really like this trilogy. It was very like low stakes, but also at the same time tackled a lot of like heavy topics. There's also a 4th book, Sinner, which is from the perspective of one of the side characters from the trilogy, and I think I actually like that one the best, despite him not being a favorite character at the time. And then last on the shelf, we have The Gathering by C.J. Tudor. This is small town murder mystery with vampires set in Alaska. And it's a standalone, and it's amazing. You absolutely have to read it. I don't make the rules. Then down here on the bottom shelf, we have The City of Dusk by Tara Sim. This is book 1 in an adult epic / high fantasy trilogy, I want to say. This book took me a long time to read. I rated it like 2 stars, and then I sat on it for a long time, and I couldn't stop thinking about this book. And I think now it's closer to 4 stars. It's not quite 5, but it was just so dense, and there was a lot. Like, I think the problem was I haven't read a lot of adult fantasy. And so it was a lot, but like looking back on it, I'm like, you know what? I think it was better done than I thought it was at the time. I think at the time I was just so overwhelmed, and it's a big book. But yeah, I haven't decided yet if I'm continuing the series. If you've read the rest of the series, let me know if I should continue. Then we have one of my favorites of all time, the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy by Laini Taylor. This is angels and demons / monsters and reincarnation and enemies to lovers and forbidden romance and multiple lives, and I am not doing it justice at all, but you need to read this series because it is so unique. Like, I have not read a book like it before or since, and I don't think I ever will. And I just realized that these are absolutely not in order, and I don't know how long they've been like that. But anyway, I'm just gonna quickly fix that for my own sanity. There you go. Next up, we have The Vindico by Wesley King. I read this as part of like a reading challenge with my school back in grade 8, which is actually why I read this one. You were challenged to read 10 different books by up-and-coming Canadian authors, I believe. And if you read all of them within a certain time frame, you got to go on the field trip to Toronto to go to the book festival. I, of course, read all of them. The Vindico was my second or third favorite, and This Dark Endeavor was my favorite of the 10. Then we have The Beginning of Everything by Robin Schneider. This one, the best that I can... You can read that if you'd like, but the best I can describe it is it's kind of like Paper Towns / Looking for Alaska. Like, it's very much that kind of genre of book where it's like, you know, male protagonist, kind of quirky characters, finding yourself in high school, first love, that kind of thing. It was really good. It's a one-off. It wasn't the best thing I've ever read, but I certainly enjoyed it. I've got some cool quotes from it that I really like. Then we have the Maze Runner box set. I was not a fan of the Maze Runner. I gave it 3 to 4 stars, but I had no intention of reading the rest of it. I just didn't care that much about it. And then my mom got me the box set for Christmas, and I was like, well, damn, guess I have to read it now, because I felt bad. I didn't want to, you know, she spent money on this, obviously. So I read the rest of the series, and I wish I hadn't. It just got worse from there. Book 2 is like the worst, but book 3 isn't really much better. The only exception is The Kill Order. This book was 5 stars. It's a prequel, okay? But you need to read it after this in order to not spoil certain things. But in the same vein, I wish this book had been a standalone, because it would have been such a cool standalone, and I could do without the rest of it. Like, I don't need the rest of it. This book, though, really good. Sorry, that's my dishwasher in the background. It sings. And then I have The Dark Hills Divide and Beyond the Valley of Thorns by Patrick Carman. These are the first 2 books in one of my favorite middle grade series growing up. I loved this series. I got it for less than that, actually, I think, at a local used bookstore, and I had to have them for my collection. I really need to get the rest of the series. I believe I actually have book 4 at home. I did end up buying that, but I read them originally through my library, so I never had copies. But they're going to be great for nostalgia, for my kids someday, and yeah. Next up, we have The Final Empire, The Well of Ascension, and The Hero of Ages, which are the first 3 books in the Mistborn trilogy by Brandon Sanderson. I have read Mistborn. I have yet to read these 2, but I want to soon, hopefully. I need to do it. But Mistborn, The Final Empire was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. In the same vein as Mistborn, the same kind of fantasy, you have... Why are they... They're not even in order. I'm sorry. You have The Lies of Locke Lamora, Book 1, Red Seas Under Red Skies, and The Republic of Thieves. And then I also have a second copy of The Lies of Locke Lamora. One of these, I believe it's this one, got left out in the rain. My mom did it accidentally, and it's pretty in rough shape if I were to pull it out and show you. So the second one is a newer copy that I found. I love this series to death. It is top tier fantasy. It's like a Robin Hood-esque main male character, except he steals from the rich to give to himself. Lots of selfish, morally gray characters, heists, criminal mafia type underworld, super, super cool and unique world building. And it's just, it will keep you on the edge of your seat the whole time, and you won't have any idea what's happening in the best kind of way until it all comes together at the end, and you'll be sitting there like, how did the author even manage this? But yeah, you should definitely read that. And then also in the same vein, we have The Name of the Wind and The Wise Man's Fear by Patrick Rothfuss. Again, top tier fantasy. I will never not talk about how much this series is the best thing ever. We don't know if we'll ever get the third and final book. I really hope we do. Honestly, at this point, like, if Patrick Rothfuss were to be seeing this video, like, I don't actually care how good it is. I just need to know what happens. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, top tier fantasy. I didn't know it was unfinished when I started reading it, but I have no regrets. So anyway, that concludes my second shelf tour. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these books, if you plan to read any of them, what your thoughts were. If based on these books and what I said about them, you think you have a book rec that I might like, also put that in the comments. And I will see you guys in the third and final bookshelf tour video.